Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another Magic Puzzle Quest video. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at an exclusive Mythic from the Bloomburrow set, Rottenmouth Viper. So, let's get into it. I want to kickstart this video by thanking Webcore for sending me this card so that I could make this review for you guys. Thank you for sending me the exclusives, the planeswalkers, all this stuff so I can keep making these videos. I really appreciate it. I could not do it without you guys. Rottenmouth Viper is a 22 mana 6/6 snake. It has leveling up as part of its mechanic, and it reads, at the beginning of your turn, if this card's in your hand, you're going to reduce the mana cost by X until end of turn, which is going to be equal to the number of black gems on the board up to 8. And when this creature either enters the battlefield or attacks, you're going to increase this card's level by 4, and then do damage to your opponent's planeswalker equal to the card's level. That means that if you play multiple copies of this in the same turn, all of the level up triggers will do their damage. So it's going to level to 5 and do 5 damage, and then to 9, do 9 damage, and then to 13 and do 13 damage, and so on and so forth. The level up actually winds up happening fairly quickly, especially if you're able to play multiple in a row. I personally think that the best ways to run the Viper are either through a reanimator deck, where you're just continually reanimating the Viper, or if you're playing some kind of specialized creature fetch deck, where you're going to be playing multiple copies of this in a turn. Outside of that, I think that the card isn't quite as strong as other options in Standard. You'd really want to build around this thing to get the maximum amount of power out of it. If you choose to build and just have it as another creature in your deck, it definitely does do quite a bit of damage, right? It is only a 6/6, but the first time it attacks, it's attacking for 11. And then after that, the next time it's attacking for 15. So it's going to power itself up, even though the numerical 6/6 isn't increasing. It's powering up just because of the level up. And by that, it's a very powerful creature. A phenomenally powerful creature. However, it does need to be built around if you really want to maximize it. My favorite planeswalkers to use to build around this are going to be things like Liliana Untouched by Death, because she works great for just throwing things in the graveyard and is a fantastic reanimator option. Grist the Plague Swarm, because Grist is by far the best reanimator planeswalker that we have in the game. Not only are you going to be throwing things into your graveyard with the first, but you're going to be able to bring them back with the first as well. So you're going to be able to get a whole bunch more Vipers with Grist than you really are with any of the other planeswalkers in the game. So Grist is the better option for reanimator. The last option that I really like is the new Garruk Apex Predator. The first ability is going to enable you to fetch 2 creatures from your library every turn that you activate it, and so if the Viper is the only creature in your deck, you're just going to be able to fetch a bunch of the Vipers. You do need to keep in mind, though, that in order for that ability to function properly, where you can get more than 4 Vipers, you're going to need something in your deck that's going to cause your deck to either shuffle or generate more creatures. Something that's going to fetch some, like the next creatures. Not the first, but the next creatures from your library. You'll see a little bit of that in the gameplay. In terms of cards that are going to pair really well with the Viper, if you're running the Reanimator strategy and you're running it in green, Gather the Pack is incredible. With Grist, this is going to throw a whole bunch of Vipers in your graveyard, which allows you to then just start to spam your first ability and get a whole bunch of them back. Breach the Multiverse is a fantastic card to run with this as well, as you can pick the Vipers out of your graveyard, and since if you're running Viper in an optimized deck, you're not going to be running it with other creatures, you can have your opponent's creatures come onto the battlefield for you and start to do work for you as well. I really like both Gather the Pack and Breach the Multiverse. Breach the Multiverse is black, so is the Viper, so you can run it in any deck that you're running with the Viper. However, Gather the Pack, you do need to be running it with something with green in the identity as well, namely Grist. For people who don't have absolutely everything, Defossilize is an amazing reanimator card, especially with the Viper. This brings your first creature back from your graveyard to the battlefield, but then it's going to make that creature, or any creature you control, explore, which, since the Viper is mono black, you can have it explore, and then it's going to convert gems to black, which can cause some really cool cascades, and make it so you can play more cards from your hand. We've also got some other things that can bring things back, things like Rakdos Joins Up, but that's just one of many that is going to be bringing things back. Defossilize is, I think, the coolest of the non-rare options for bringing creatures back. With that, I want to go ahead and showcase the gameplay of this thing in action. So, let's check it out. Alrighty, so we've got the Reanimator deck. We're up against Koth. this is a really great starting hand. Mana Crypt, Gather the Pack, Tempt with Discovery. Now I could go for, well, there's a lot of different matches that I could go for here. There's a lot of really good ones, but I'm actually going to take the red match just because the number one objective for me when I'm up against Koth in terms of my matches is making sure that Koth doesn't have matches. So I'm going to take the match away from Koth just to start out with. And then from there, here I've got a double match with black, which is going to be really good. I can hope that this gets me the Gather the Pack as well, which it will, which is perfect. So here the idea with this deck is we want to get as many of our Vipers into the graveyard as we can, because we're going to want to spam Grist's first ability to get those Vipers back. And then not only are we going to want to do that, but then we're going to want to just play as many Vipers as possible. The Vipers themselves, making it so that when they level up, you get the, when they enter the battlefield and when they attack, getting the boost is particularly nasty. So here, ooh, I've got another Tempt with Discovery, so I've obviously got to take that one. And then, ooh, I've got a push. Yes, please. That means I should win next turn if things go right for me. Basically, my opponent not destroying my board state. So, yeah, this should be game over here, I think. Let's check it out. So I've got 4 Vipers in the graveyard right now. So now I've got 3. And then we're going to go for pull. Oh, this is really, really tempting to go for something else instead. Yeah, I've got 3 Vipers in the graveyard here. So let's go with the pull. The pull is going to get me 3 Vipers, right? We're going to get the Tempt with Discovery as well. But we're going to get the 3 Vipers here. So that's going to be 1, and that's going to level up for 17. That's going to level up for 21, and now 25. And then that's definitely game over, because when the Vipers attack, it's going to kill my opponent. It's going to be hitting for 36 and 25. So I've got to Gather the Pack there. I've got another Tempt with Discovery here, and then we're just going to kill my opponent. So really, really fast match, and that's what can happen when you're running a dedicated higher-end Reanimator deck. You could make an argument for running, I think, the Tyvar Vanguard, so that your Vipers have haste, as opposed to the things that I was running in the deck, namely the Demolition Field, but I wanted the Demolition Field just for a little bit more consistency. So I think that's a great example of the first deck in action and just how deadly the Viper can be if you start stacking a whole bunch of them. Let's go into our next match. All right, let's see what happens if we have a dedicated creature fetch deck where the Viper is the only creature in the deck. Starting hand-wise, this isn't great. It's not the worst, but it's far from the best. I don't have any kind of card draw here, meaning that I will have to rely on my loyalty abilities to really pull through. I've got a Sylvan Tutor. That's actually a really nice pull right there. And then, let's see, I can get the Hall of the Gemstone no matter what here. So I'm going to do that. I don't necessarily want to make the black match on the right just yet. So, oh well, I'm going to get all the stuff, I guess. I get both my Halls of the Gemstone. The Halls of the Gemstone coming down are really, really nice for me. My opponent gets a Sunken Citadel, and they don't get an enormous Cascade. That is good. So I've got a Viper here. I really like that I have the Viper here. Am I going to be able to have enough loyalty? No, not necessarily. Yes, necessarily. Okay, I'm going to take loyalty into loyalty, and then I'm going to have enough for my first ability, which is going to let me pull 2 Vipers out. And then now here I just need to play a Viper. So since I just need to play a Viper here, how about I take the Mana Crypt into a Viper? So let's get the free Viper. Oh, I get 2 Vipers out of this time. Excellent. So that's going to level up the Viper twice. And then this is going to get me a lot closer to being able to kill my opponent in like 1 or 2 turns. So I've got another Mana Vault. Definitely not what I want to be seeing there, but that's okay. And then, let's see, this is going to get me both a Viper and a bonus swap. So how about I take, I'm going to freeze down the Sylvan Tutor just for now. I want to use that as sort of like a kill card. So we're going to get the Viper down. We're going to get the bonus swap. That's good. And then how far am I from another loyalty ability? I'm going to be getting it no matter what. Okay, that's fantastic. So since I'm going to be getting the new loyalty ability no matter what I might do is just take the black match, just so that my opponent doesn't take the black landfall there. And then I'm going to get another Mana Crypt down. And then next turn, the game ends unless my opponent wipes my board. So let's see. The Sunken Citadel always can, just because it can give them like a crazy Cascade or something, but they don't get the Cascade. So I'm going to get the Hall of the Gemstone, and I'm going to get both of my triggers here. So I'm going to get Wild Call. I'm not allowed to use Wild Call here. This is one of the issues with Garruk, by the way. You can actually run out of creatures in your deck, and if you do, then Garruk can no longer fetch them. So that means I'm out of creatures here. I've got all my creatures. So the Sylvan Tutor might actually force it to generate some more creatures. So let's see if Sylvan Tutor will cause this to generate more creatures for me. So we're gonna take a Rottenmouth Viper. We're gonna give my opponent the mana, and then now I can use Wild Call. Okay, so it generated more creatures from me for my deck, and now I can actually go ahead and play some Vipers. So now that we can definitely play some Vipers, let's end the game here no matter what, shall we? We're going to take the Loyalty Match for the Mana Vault to give me full mana for a Viper. The Viper's going to come in, it's going to ping Windgrace, and it's going to knock out my opponent. So there we go. There's 2 matches where we get to see Rottenmouth Viper as the only creature. So just if you go only creature reanimate versus only creature summon, I think that the only creature reanimate is a better deck than the only creature summon, but they're both very effective. So let's take a look at another deck. This last deck that I'm going to be showcasing today is going to be my newer player-friendly showcase. This is going to be a deck that, that's actually pretty solid on the removal standpoint, but not very solid on any other standpoint. Anywho, this is going to be a Reanimator deck, and it's going to be a largely Pauper-friendly deck, right? Like everything in the deck is common, uncommon, rare, except for the Viper itself, which you can pick up in the vault anyways if it comes back. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. So here, actually, I could activate my first and start throwing things into the graveyard, but I don't want to yet. The reason why is because I have all this removal in my hand, and if I start destroying my deck, then I'm going to potentially start thinning it out a little bit more. But that means that I might actually throw all of my Vipers and all of my return cards out, and I don't want to do that. So now here I am actually going to start filling my graveyard now that I've got a Viper, as hopefully the Viper is going to help me put in some serious work. I've got a double match here. I like my double matches. And then let's see what my opponent wants to do. I've got a Defossilize. I love Defossilize with the Viper. Defossilize is going to cause the Explore when the Viper comes in. And that's really nice because the Viper is a mono black creature. So let's just go ahead and fill the graveyard a little bit more since I'm going to have the Viper and the Defossilize here. And then, let's see, can I get anything special out of this particular turn? No, it doesn't look like it. I don't want to take the blue match on the left because that will create a red match for my opponent. And I very much don't want to give them a red match. Ooh, Breach the Multiverse too? I like where this is going. We're getting some good stuff here. So now here I could actually take the landfall, the Loyalty Landfall. But in this case, the Loyalty Landfall is not as good of a match for me, even though it's going to be Loyalty Landfall into blue, because I'd rather get rid of the red match and hope it cascades into a black match. So it doesn't cascade into a black match, but that's really not a big deal. I'm going to have the Viper Explore here, which is going to convert gems to black, and then the Viper is going to keep ramping up. So this is looking really good for me. I've got so much removal in my hand. I feel like I'm just daring my opponent to play something here. So let's go ahead. We're going to take the black into blue, and then we're going to have the Breach the Multiverse bring me another Viper back. So let's take another Viper that's going to level it up again, ping my opponent, and see what my opponent is running. They've got a Pride of Wholeclad and Aurelia. I'm going to take the Aurelia, actually. Pride of Wholeclad is really cool, but Aurelia is going to draw me a card here, and I'd rather potentially draw into another Viper. But I don't draw into another Viper. I completely fill my hand with all my removal cards. Thank you, game, for this. This is exactly what I needed. I don't need to do anything in terms of throwing things out because I'm going to win this turn, and then, yeah, there's no point in anything else in my hand. So let's see. Yeah, I don't need to throw anything else away. So we're going to go ahead and take the double match just for giggles. Always good to be in good habits. And we knock out Domri. So that's it for my gameplay in today's video with the Viper. Let's get into the conclusion. In conclusion, I think that the Rottenmouth Viper is a perfect example of what an exclusive card should be. It's a card that you don't necessarily need in order to be meta relevant. However, it's a card that has some serious power and is a very fun card to play with. There's a lot of different decks that you can come up with to make this card really shine. I'll admit that when I first saw this creature, I thought it was terrible. And then as soon as I started playing with it, I was like, oh wait, this thing gets the level up on attack and on entering the battlefield. And that level up is actually pretty quick. And so as you guys saw from the first game, definitely, second game a little bit, the games can be really fast if you get things going the right way with the Viper because it just ramps up so quickly. And that's something that's really cool about it. So I really like the Viper. It's not a card that you need. It definitely is not. However, it's a card that I think you should want just because it's fun to play with. So if you're a free-to-play player and this thing does not enter the vault again, then by all means, when you pick it up from booster crafting or opening more Bloomburrow packs after the next set comes out, then when you pull this card, throw it into some decks, have some fun with it. If you're someone who does spend money on the game and the price tag for the exclusives isn't a big deal for you, and it comes back into the vault, I don't know if it will or won't, then this is a card that I think is worth picking up just because it's really fun. As I said, it's not meta, you don't need it, but it's fun. So that's it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.